Last March, a 71-year-old retired teacher from Phoenix named Carol spent 45 minutes in a TSA secondary screening room at Sky Harbor Airport, not because she did anything wrong, but because the knee brace she'd flown with a dozen times suddenly looked suspicious. The scanner flagged it. 2 agents pulled her aside. She missed her connecting flight to see her grandkids in Charlotte. And the worst part? She had no idea anything had changed. Carol isn't alone. Across the country, travelers over 65 are walking into airports completely unprepared for what's happening at security checkpoints right now. TSA has rolled out new scanner technology in 2026, and it is catching things the old machines completely ignored. If you're over 65 and you haven't changed the way you pack, you need to hear this, because what used to fly without a second glance could now land you in a secondary screening that eats an hour of your travel day. That's exactly what we're covering today. 7 items you need to stop packing, the way you've been packing them, plus a free TSA program almost nobody knows about that could save you all of this trouble entirely. So, what actually changed? TSA has been quietly installing next-generation computed tomography scanners, CT scanners, across major US airports. These are not the flat X-ray machines you're used to. The old systems gave screeners a single 2-dimensional image of your bag. Think of it like a shadow on a wall. The new CT scanners create a full 3-dimensional model of everything inside your luggage. Screeners can rotate the image. They can zoom in. They can isolate individual objects layer by layer. According to TSA's own updates, these machines detect threats with significantly higher accuracy than legacy systems. That sounds great for security. And it is. But it also means items that used to pass through unnoticed are now getting flagged constantly. And travelers over 65 are disproportionately affected, because many of the things these new scanners pick up are items that seniors commonly carry. Medical devices, dense metal objects, medication in non-standard containers. If you've been packing the same way for 10 or 15 years, the rules haven't changed, but the technology enforcing them has. And that distinction matters more than you might think. Let's start with the big one. If you travel with a bulky metal knee brace, a rigid ankle support, or a heavy-duty back brace, the new scanners will almost certainly single you out. The older millimeter wave body scanners had a harder time distinguishing between medical supports and potential threats. They'd flag something vague, and a quick pat-down would clear it. The new systems are different. They produce a much more detailed image, and large metallic orthopedic devices light up like a flare. That means even braces you've worn through security 50 times could suddenly trigger a full secondary screening. Here's what to do instead. If your brace is removable, take it off before you reach the scanner and send it through the CT machine with your carry-on. If it's not removable, if you physically cannot take it off, tell the TSA officer before you step into the scanner. Request a pat-down proactively. You can also call TSA Cares ahead of time, which I'll explain later, to arrange assistance. The goal is to avoid being surprised, because surprise at a checkpoint is what turns a 10-second conversation into a 30-minute ordeal. Number 2, and this one trips up millions of travelers every single year. Loose medication not in original pharmacy bottles. Here's what happens. You're going on a week-long trip. You've got 6 different prescriptions. Instead of hauling 6 bulky bottles, you sort everything into a weekly pill organizer, or toss them into a small plastic bag. Totally logical, totally common. And in 2026, a serious problem at the checkpoint. The new CT scanners can identify the density and composition of materials with much greater precision. A bag full of mixed loose pills in an unlabeled container raises immediate questions. TSA agents may need to test individual pills. They may call a supervisor. They may ask you to identify each medication, which is stressful enough when you're 40, let alone when you're 72, and the line behind you is growing. Federal regulations do not technically require you to keep medication in original bottles for domestic flights, but TSA recommends it. And, practically speaking, original bottles with pharmacy labels speed you through screening dramatically. If you prefer using a pill organizer, Keep the original bottles in your checked luggage as backup documentation, or take a photo of each label on your phone. Give screeners something to verify quickly, so you're not stuck explaining your blood pressure medication to a 25-year-old agent who's never heard of lisinopril. Number 3 caught me off guard when I first researched it. Dense metallic souvenirs, tools, and hobby items. That cast iron skillet you picked up at an antique store in Savannah. The vintage pocket watch collection in a velvet case. A heavy set of metal knitting needles. Even a bag of old coins. On the old X-ray machines, these items showed up as vague, dark shapes. Sometimes flagged, sometimes not. On CT scanners, dense metal objects are analyzed with paranoid precision. The machine is specifically looking for metallic threats, and when it encounters a mass of dense metal it can't immediately categorize, it flags it. A 68-year-old man named Robert got pulled into secondary screening at Dallas-Fort Worth last January because a bag of antique railroad spikes he'd bought at a flea market looked alarming on the new scanner. The solution is straightforward. If you're carrying anything made of dense metal, put it in your checked luggage. If it has to go in your carry-on, isolate it in a clear bag and place it at the top of your suitcase so screeners can see it easily on the 3D scan. Reduce the guesswork for the machine, and you reduce your chances of getting pulled aside. Now this next one affects almost every traveler over 65 who carries more than one electronic device. Overpacked carry-on bags with layered electronics. Here's something most people don't realize. Stacking a tablet on top of a laptop, on top of a portable charger inside a tightly stuffed bag creates what screeners call a dark zone on the new scanners. Even though CT technology is more advanced, it still struggles when multiple dense electronic items are pressed together with no space between them. The overlapping signals make it harder for the machine to distinguish one device from another, and when the scanner can't get a clean read, it flags the entire bag. This is especially common with travelers who pack a laptop, a tablet, a phone charger, a portable battery pack, a Kindle, and maybe a digital camera, all in the same compartment. The fix is simple but important. Spread your electronics out. Use different compartments of your bag. If your airport still requires laptops out of the bag, do it, even if the person in front of you doesn't. And if you're using one of the newer TSA pre-check lanes with CT scanners that supposedly let you keep everything in your bag, still keep things loosely packed. The machine works best when items have a little breathing room around them. Number 5 is critical for anyone who carries liquid medication. You are absolutely allowed to bring medically necessary liquids over 3.4 ounces through security. That includes insulin, liquid prescriptions, eye drops in larger bottles, and other medical liquids. TSA's own website confirms this. But the process for doing it correctly has gotten stricter under updated screening protocols. You must declare these liquids separately from your other belongings before the screening begins. Place them in a separate bin. Tell the agent. If you just toss a large bottle of liquid medication into your bag and send it through the CT scanner, it will get flagged. And now you're explaining yourself after the fact instead of before, which changes the tone of the entire interaction. A 66-year-old woman named Diane, a retired nurse from Minneapolis, told me she nearly had her prescription eye drops confiscated at Newark because she forgot to pull them out and declare them. She had documentation from her doctor, but because the scanner flagged an unannounced oversized liquid, the process became adversarial instead of cooperative. Declare early. Separate clearly. Bring documentation. Those 3 steps take 90 seconds and can save you an enormous headache. Number 6 is one nobody thinks about. Heavy costume jewelry and layered metal accessories. That chunky turquoise necklace. The stack of gold bangles. The belt with the oversized decorative buckle. These items may have sailed through security for years, but the sensitivity threshold on 2026 body scanners has dropped significantly. The machines are calibrated to detect smaller and smaller metallic signatures, which means jewelry that barely registered before now triggers the yellow highlight on the body scan image. When that happens, you get a targeted pat-down at minimum. And if you're wearing multiple pieces, you could get flagged in several zones at once. The simplest solution is to take off all metal jewelry and accessories before you get in line. Put them in a small pouch inside your carry-on. Walk through the scanner clean. Put everything back on at your gate. It adds maybe 2 minutes to your routine and eliminates an entire category of potential flags. Think of it this way. Every piece of metal on your body is a question the scanner has to answer. Give it fewer questions, and you get through faster. Number 7, and this is a big one for the over 65 crowd. CPAP machines and medical devices packed incorrectly. CPAP machines are one of the most common medical devices carried by travelers over 65, and the wrong packing method now almost guarantees a bag check. TSA requires that CPAP machines be removed from their carrying cases and placed in a separate bin for screening, similar to a laptop. But many travelers leave them packed inside padded cases, sometimes buried under clothes or toiletries. On the old scanners, agents might let it slide. The new CT machines won't. A CPAP machine inside a padded case surrounded by other items creates exactly the kind of cluttered, overlapping image that triggers an automatic flag. The same applies to portable oxygen concentrators, nebulizers, and other battery-operated medical devices. Remove them from their cases. Place them in their own bin. If your device has detachable components, tubing, masks, water chambers, keep those in a clear bag beside the device, not stuffed around it. Clean presentation equals clean screening. It's that straightforward. Let me be honest about something nobody talks about in these travel tip videos. Secondary screening is not just an inconvenience. When you're 68, you have a bad hip, you're connecting flight boards in 35 minutes, and 2 TSA agents are asking you to stand with your arms out for the 3rd time, it's exhausting, physically and emotionally. Seniors who use canes, or walkers may have them taken away temporarily during screening. People with hearing aids sometimes struggle to understand instructions in noisy checkpoint environments. Travelers with cognitive conditions can become confused and anxious when the routine changes unexpectedly. This isn't about being fragile. It's about the fact that secondary screening was designed as a quick process, but for many travelers over 65, it is anything but quick. And with the new scanners flagging more items more often, the likelihood of getting pulled aside has gone up. That's exactly why packing smarter matters so much. Every flag you prevent is 10 to 15 minutes of stress you avoid. So now that you know what triggers these machines, here's exactly how to reorganize your bags so you glide through security without a single flag. First, do a metal audit of your carry-on the night before your flight. Take everything out. Separate anything metallic, coins, jewelry, tools, keys, belt buckles, and either move it to checked luggage or isolate it in a clear pouch at the top of your bag. Second, spread your electronics out across multiple compartments. Never stack 2 devices directly on top of each other. Third, keep all medication in original pharmacy bottles. If you use a pill organizer, fine, but keep the bottles as backup in your checked bag or photograph every label. Fourth, if you carry a CPAP or any medical device, remove it from its case before you reach the belt. Give it its own bin. Fifth, remove all jewelry and metal accessories before you enter the security line. Put them in a pouch. Sixth, if you have oversized liquid medication, separate it, declare it, and have documentation ready. And seventh, this is the most important one. Arrive early. Give yourself at least 2.5 hours for domestic flights if you're over 65. Time is the single greatest stress reducer at any airport. And here's something that could change your entire airport experience. TSA Cares. It's a free program run by TSA specifically designed to help travelers with disabilities, medical conditions, and anyone over 65 who wants additional support at the checkpoint. You call them at least 72 hours before your flight. You explain your situation. Maybe you have a knee replacement. Maybe you use a wheelchair. Maybe you carry a CPAP and several medications. They assign a passenger support specialist at your departure airport who meets you at security and walks you through the entire process. No surprises, no confusion, no standing alone trying to explain your medical devices to a rushed agent. The number is 855-787-227. I'll say it once more, 855-787-227. You can also submit a request through the TSA website. This program has been around for years, but according to recent surveys, fewer than 15% of eligible travelers even know it exists. If you do nothing else after watching this video, save that number in your phone. It could be the difference between a smooth security experience and the worst hour of your trip. Flying doesn't have to feel like walking into a trap. Every single issue we covered today, every flag, every secondary screening, every stressful moment, is completely avoidable with about 15 minutes of preparation the night before your trip. Do the metal audit. Reorganize your medication. Spread out your electronics. Call TSA Cares. These are small steps that make an enormous difference when you're standing in that security line. The scanners have changed, and they're not going back to the old ones. But that doesn't mean flying has to be harder. It just means you need to pack smarter. And now you know exactly how to do that. If this helped you feel more prepared for your next flight, subscribe to this channel. What? We put out new travel updates every week specifically for travelers who want to stay ahead of the rules instead of getting caught by them. Share this with a friend or family member over 65 who has a trip coming up. One forwarded video could save them an hour of frustration. Safe travels, and I'll see you in the next one.